everyone. Welcome to our classroom. It is 9 o'clock at night here in Montreal, and my guests today are all the way across the globe in Australia. Welcome, Stefania and Tash. How are you guys?
Oh, a bit shaken. I don't know what to think.
Okay, you guys are a bit shaken because something terrible happened to you, didn't it? Would you like to talk a little bit? Well, do you want me to introduce you more? Or why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Stefania, tell us a little bit. Why are you vegan? How did you end up being an activist?
All right. So I'm Stefania Farrow. I'm a 28-year-old model based in Melbourne, Australia. And how did I become an activist? It was a process. It was all those clicks that you speak of. And eventually I got to the point where I thought it was such an injustice to not speak out about what was going on that I can't stay quiet anymore. And yeah, the activist was born, I suppose.
Okay. And you, Tash?
Yeah, so I became vegan just over 4 years ago, and I immediately became an activist the night that I just switched to veganism after waking up to the truth, watching a documentary called Food Choices on Netflix. And I just felt this fire within me. I wanted everyone to know the truth. I realized that I'd been lied to my entire life about the atrocities that are happening in animal agriculture. And I just started using my social media online to spread the truth. I had no idea that any animal rights organizations existed at that point in time. And then it sort of led me to creating my own t-shirt brand because I think that clothing is a powerful form of activism, and I wanted to spread that message through clothing. And then within about several months of being vegan, I watched Joey Carpstrong live speaking. He came to visit in Perth and did an amazing speech, and that made me aware that animal rights organizations existed. So I started getting involved with Anonymous for the Voiceless and the Save movement, and I really, really loved it. And then just a couple of years ago, the Direct Action Everywhere chapter was created here in Australia, and it started in Perth. So fortunately for me, I started getting involved in disruptive action and taking direct action, which has sort of led me to do more solo types of disruptive activism, such as disrupting restaurants, fast food chains and supermarkets, and running onto football fields.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember when I first laid eyes on each of you. I mean, for you, Tash, I don't remember. It was just one of those things like, oh my God, who's this person across the end of the world? It was like already like on the other end of the world because I'm here in Montreal. And I remember thinking, oh yeah, that's great. She really understands this whole concept of direct action everywhere. And of course, Stefania appeared on my TikTok. It's just like, writing these nice comments. I'm like, okay, like, is she for real? Because like she's so pretty, and she's like, oh my God, you had like 1 million followers on Instagram. I'm like, is she trolling me? Like why is she looking? Like why is she being nice to me? And I was like, oh my God, she actually. And then I saw you had these pictures with you with the bunny rabbit, and you had the lamb, and I'm like, oh my God, she's the real deal. This is so great, and I was feeling so happy because you were so kind, and it was just.
Well, both of you have been absolute inspirations for me to start speaking out more because obviously I bottled a lot of what I'd seen in documentaries and online, the research I've done, and seeing both of your work it's incredible. And so I looked up to you both for so long. So this is really quite, I said earlier before we started the live that this is a fangirl moment for me because you guys are leading a revolution.
And for me too, it's just like so fun to see you guys because I feel like I said just before we came on, I said it feels like I watch you on my TV, which is my iPhone and my iPad. I'm like, oh, what are these guys up to today and what's going on? And then it's just like meeting movie stars in real life. And Stefania, this is her famous bedroom that she's always like the Victoria's Secret catalog and just strutting around. And, do you like my dress? Do you like my dress? I think this is a beautiful dress and all this stuff. And it's just so funny because like we're like almost the complete opposites in real life. Like I don't even like own any makeup and I have like gray hair. And, but I just love you guys. I just love you guys because I just think it's so, so great. And when I heard that you were going to be in the same room together and you found each other, I was like, God, I wish I could have been there. If there hadn't been COVID, honestly, I think I would have been on a plane. I'd be like knocking at your door, like, can I play with you guys? Can I come?
That's if we don't get to your door first.
Like, how fun would it be to just have like just a whole pile of women just doing activism together, like just all of us who understand like this whole concept of disruption. So let's talk about disruption, because I went onto TikTok for that reason. I wanted to disrupt TikTok. And this wasn't just some airy fairy idea I came up with. This is because I'd seen videos that said that society only changes when we disrupt it, and we have to shake things up and make people talk about it. And people are so angry with me, but at least they were talking. At least that's how I felt. Of course, there's always a tiny bit of your mind that thinks, God, I hope I'm not making things worse. But, according to the science of social change, that's what we have to do. So tell me about what happened in the restaurant the other day. Was it just yesterday? Last night for you guys?
Yeah, it was just last night. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys were attacked.
Yes, we were. You may have seen we went into the exact same restaurant that we did last night just a few days ago, and we posted that video on social media. There were only there was a large group of people in at the time, but it was sort of quiet, and it was still a very successful disruption, but we wanted to go back at a busier time. And when we drove by last night, it was quite busy. So we thought, yes, let's go back in and really make that statement to this particular chain called Grilled. They're like a burger chain here in Australia. So everything was going, quite well in terms of disrupting. As soon as we entered, I started speaking out, and they were definitely prepared for us this time, and they just blasted the music right up. Like, it was insanely loud, wasn't it?
It was so loud you couldn't hear yourself.
On purpose, so that you couldn't be heard.
So that we couldn't, of course, say the message, obviously, yeah.
And you had your shirts and you had your sign, but that's just part of it. It's more you want to really talk about the documentaries and about the murder on the plates. And oh shoot! So then what happened? Let me just get my popcorn. Hold on, I want to listen to the story. Okay. What happened next?
Well, we literally couldn't really speak. I tried shouting. I wanted everyone to know the truth, and it was
couldn't hear a thing.
It was so difficult. So our presence was making everyone very triggered. A lot of people were shouting at us. They were pointing at our shoes, trying to point out our hypocrisy. And we're like, well, we're wearing vegan shoes. What's your point here? Yeah. And just our presence was making such an impact. And obviously, we had our signs and our clothing. So people were looking at us. The staff started getting quite aggressive.
One of them tried to rip the sign I was holding in my hand out of it, which was a shock. Actually, 2 different employees did that. But then next minute, I just looked over at the cameraman, and he's being shoved by the neck into the kitchen of the restaurant and being punched repeatedly. And I just dropped the sign and went to grab him, and other people went to try and pull the guy off him. But it was just, I don't know, it went so insane out of nowhere. But the response was, I guess it's not surprising when you put people's cognitive dissonance into question.
Right. But sometimes I'm honestly speechless, because if I hadn't experienced that kind of violence myself, I know it can be. What am I trying to say here? I'm trying to say, like, I really hope that it doesn't affect you guys permanently, because I did notice a slight difference in my own activism when I was physically assaulted doing activism. And I don't know if you guys know the story, but basically it was a similar thing, Tash, with the way you were talking about. We were at a big city hall meeting, and a huge group of people were coming in, and I was acting as a reporter. So I was, I love filming. I'm in front of the screen here, but usually I like to film. That's sort of my first love, is to film people rather than be in front of it. And I ran into the building first, and I was in front where all the protesters were going to come into this meeting. And I was filming the back door. But of course, there's a woman in front of me by about 5 feet away or something. And, I'm filming the back door, and she's like, stop filming me. And I'm just like, I'm I'm just filming back there. Like, you just happened to be here. And she reached and grabbed my arm and she scratched me that I was bleeding. She grabbed my phone and she started running away with it. Like, she's literally assaulting me and stole my phone. And it was so much chaos going on. I couldn't film what was happening. Right. So, and nobody else was filming me. So it's so important. Anyway, to make a long story short, she ended up throwing it out into the crowd and I got it back. But, I was so stunned, and I haven't really even talked about it because that was already several years ago. It was just so traumatic to know that I was attacked. And, at one point I was trying to get it away from her. And then two men who only saw me running after her and didn't know that she had stolen my phone. I'm like, give me back my phone. I was like, give me back my fucking phone. And I tried to grab her by the shirt, and then two guys grabbed me. And then I was just like, oh my God, it was just a giant mess. And after that, I realized, wow, every time I go out to film, I realize I'm a little bit more cautious, because you're kind of always aware. And I think it's so important that every time you're out doing activism like that every person needs their own bodyguard, somebody filming them at all times, to make it really clear that they're not going to get away with attacking us.
Except they went straight for the cameraman yesterday and missed, unfortunately, Tash getting punched in the back. And one of the employees attempted to push her down a short flight of stairs too.
That's crazy.
And her knuckles were bleeding because they were scratching her. Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, if we had gone into that restaurant holding up signs, Black Lives Matter signs or anti-racist signs, or, say no to homophobia signs, we would not have received that sort of backlash. But because we're going in there and we're protesting against something that those people themselves are participating in at that very moment, which is obviously animal abuse, animal enslavement, animal torture and murder, they were not going to treat us in any way like they would if we were other protesters. So it's not an easy task protesting for things that the majority of the population participates in and has deep-seated guilt festering in their subconscious about.
Do you think that there's some sort of a solution for that? Like, let's say you have extra activists in there who are holding up Black Lives Matter, and somebody else who's holding up a sign that says LGBTQ lives matter, and then somebody else who's holding a sign up animal rights lives matter, that it might confuse them. They might be just like, wait, we can't attack these people because, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to find a solution to that.
Yes, and obviously these sorts of issues do coincide. There's a lot of racial abuse that goes on in animal agriculture. The people that suffer the most around the world are those in poor and more vulnerable communities, because we grow so much grain in third world countries to ship all that grain to the West to fatten up livestock because we're bloody greedy. And meanwhile, that pushes the grain prices up in these third world countries, making the grain even more unaffordable for people that are starving or can't afford it. So it is all interconnected. So yeah, I think that's a fantastic idea. Perhaps we should go in with people holding up those signs too. Because if you do care about Black Lives Matter, why are you funding industries who the victims of are the minority groups or the people in more vulnerable communities? So it's just, but people don't actually want to do anything that involves them having to make any changes themselves in their lifestyle.
It's so sad to realize that, isn't it? Because you hear about, like, even Seaspiracy, you're talking about what goes on in the oceans.
Yeah, people are enslaved as well. Not just animals, humans are enslaved because no one wants to work in those industries. People would rather go and pick fruit than slaughter animals or work in those facilities where there's such high rates of infection, injury, death, and suicide amongst the workers. So they're basically modern day slaves. Right.
And one of the things that I used to do on TikTok, and I still do now, is I talk about, people really, let's face it, I have so few people who actually like me because I go after every single community. Now I do it and I'm called racist and I'm called homophobic, but the reality is I'm going after every single minority group because I was hoping that they would be what we call low-hanging fruit. Like, it just seemed to make natural sense to me that if you are oppressed, as the dark-skinned people are, as the LGBTQ are, that we would be so easy, right? Well, I'll just go to them and I'll say, hey guys, you know how you guys are all oppressed? Well, you know what? We do these terrible things to animals and we're trying to fight for them. So, hey, you guys want to come along and join us? And you would expect that every dark-skinned person and that every person who's a member of the LGBTQ community
and
would
every
say,
white savior.
every white savior, everyone would just, everyone who speaks out for those communities who might not be part of them would all just say, oh my God, yeah, totally. Let's help each other. And so that's when I realized that that wasn't really happening. That's when I started using this word veganphobia over and over again to say, and I have shirts that say it, veganphobia, like racism and homophobia, is wrong. And people just freak out over that. They don't see the connection. But you guys were physically attacked for standing up for animals. That's veganphobia. Me too. So all three of us have that in common. And that's what happens when you go out there in the real world. And
it's interesting that people that claim to be against oppression themselves are funding the most widespread and ongoing oppression to ever exist.
How do we get it through their heads that it's not okay? Let's talk about somebody who's in your country now, who is Isaac Butterfield. He's done videos about you, Tash. He's done videos about me. He's made fun of both of us. And he has shirts that literally, okay, so for those of you who don't know, he's like a comedian. Supposedly he's funny. He has over 1 million followers on YouTube. And he's what, how would you call this guy? I mean, you just want to strangle him. He's just so awful. He's just he talks about, because he has this side of him that tries to protect people, you know. He says, oh, like I used to be fat, he says, and I understand what that's like, and you know, we shouldn't do these things, and you know, I was picked on and so on. So he makes himself out that he was at times oppressed. So you would think that he would totally understand where we are coming from. But instead, he does the opposite. He literally has shirts made that say anti-vegan club.
Like, he promotes animal abuse. Yeah, oh, God knows.
You know, it's one thing to just not like vegans and you can just keep it to yourself. You know, it's one thing. Or you just, but just to actually go out and tell all of your fans, which so many of these people do, they're just like make fun of vegan, like Gordon Ramsay, you know, that guy is absolutely despicable. This chef who has so much ability to sway the world, that he made fun of me when I played my little ukulele. You know, it's not that I wasn't sad for myself, because I've gotten kind of a thick skin over time. I mean, of course I'm human and I cry, but mostly if I cry, it's because I just feel so bad for the animals.
Yeah,
but when
it's at the expense of the animals that he's doing these jokes, these jabs.
Yeah.
It's not
because
at
they're
your
the ones
expense,
who suffer.
It's at their expense.
Yeah. They're the ones who suffer, because people end up buying more and more meat because he did that. And now Gordon Ramsay could have easily done the right thing, which would have been to A, ignore me, or B, just say, yeah, you know what? I can have a vegan burger. How hard would that have been? It was a 15-second video, and over, I don't know, 50 million people saw that. And now this guy, Isaac Butterfield, over where you guys are, he's in Australia, he's doing the same thing. I mean, that's why I wonder. So Tash, in one of your videos on Instagram, I saw you were filming, or somebody was filming, I guess maybe it was your cameraman, I don't know. And the guy had one of those shirts on as he was walking away. Do you remember that?
Yeah, one of my friends over in Perth, called out somebody in the street who was wearing an anti-vegan shirt. And he said, do you want to have a word with me about your shirt? And the guy just kept walking, basically telling him to fuck off. And he said, well, you're promoting propaganda here, so I'd like to have a word with you. And he just kept walking away, calling him names, obviously very triggered, and realizing that he's walking the streets promoting animal abuse and animal cruelty.
Yeah. And so is everybody, how are you guys feeling today? Like after the whole thing, imagine you're still kind of shaken and
in a bit of a daze, I suppose. What about you?
Yeah, I just feel a bit out of it, because it was like such a long night, you know, you're in shock.
You ended up at the hospital, right?
Yeah. yeah, like, I was in a bit of shock because that's honestly the most violent protest I've ever experienced. And I've obviously put myself in some very scary situations, particularly with butchers, protesting at butchers. Their reaction of violence is incredibly scary, and I've been pushed and shoved around. But the violence that I received last night and witnessed was definitely the worst. So that was quite shocking. And yes, we did have to go to hospital for our cameraman just to make sure that he didn't have any bad head injuries, because he was, punched in the head repeatedly.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's watching, if you know of any animal rights activists who are doing work publicly, I encourage you to help them. What I mean is, you don't have to even get involved yourself if you're too shy, which personally, I don't believe in that bullshit, but let's just say that's your reason, or for whatever reason, you don't want to hold up the sign yourself. You're too afraid. What you can do, the very least that you can do, is physically show up and just stand there and hold your camera and film the activists. It does a world of good. You can broadcast live, which already doubles what's going on. Ask people to share. You can constantly say, share this video, please, and just be an advocate. And I call this being vegan fantastic, which is the opposite of vegan phobic. Vegan phobic is somebody who is cruel deliberately to animal rights activists, and somebody who's a vegan fantastic is somebody who helps them, who promotes their work. That person doesn't even have to be vegan. It could be someone, it could be one of your brothers, or it could be your parent, or it could be a cousin, or it could be a neighbor. But it's amazing, isn't it? How many animal rights activists do we see out in the streets? And when you look around, do you see their family members there or their friends? It's often a solo job that they're doing, and it can be scary.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've discovered that, well, I mean, personally, I always wanted to be able to do what Tash is doing, be able to hold up a sign and speak out about the injustices that are going on to animals and the cruelty. But I had that fear of putting myself out there. But it's a fantastic idea, even just to hold up a phone and just show them that support that way. Because if we had more people doing that yesterday, we could have captured even more angles of the abuse that was thrown towards Tash and the cameraman. I mean, I was shoved around a bit, but not to the same extent they were.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder how, I almost feel like we should, I feel like it's so important. It's almost like worth paying somebody to do it. Like, you do a disruption, disruptions are not that long usually, right? Because, well, there's two types of disruptions. There's one disruption that is for actually what's going on in the moment. And there's a secondary one, which is you're doing it for the camera. You just want to get that one shot, that one video, that one clip, that soundbite that can be sent to news stations or whatever, showing what's actually going on. So it depends what you're doing. If you're doing a long one, you're protesting for a long time outside of a zoo or an aquarium or whatever, you might, you might not be able to afford to hire somebody to film. But I mean, I can't even believe that it's come to this, that these words are actually coming out of my mouth, that we have so few courageous people that we are actually discussing hiring camera people as opposed to just people volunteering to help so that women don't get beat up for speaking out on behalf of the animals. It's infuriating.
It shows you this is something that people really need to be protesting about, because the status quo has not shifted yet, and laws haven't come into place to protect animals or activists. It's just, yeah, this is what, but people are just too terrified to go because they know the vitriol they will receive from going and protesting against animal agriculture, because most people participate in once again, and they do not want to change themselves. People only protest when it doesn't seem to involve them actually having to make any changes in their own life.
Yeah. So myself, I went to, before everything happened here on TikTok or whatever, to me, I mean, I would go to these Black Lives Matter protests because I just couldn't believe that anyone treats anybody differently just based on the way they look. So I was pretty shocked and saddened when I became an animal rights activist and approached the dark-skinned community and said, hey guys, hey, you want to help me out over here? And they're just like, they started saying, some people were saying, well, I mean, I shouldn't say that, because of course there are some who are amazing, right? I mean, there are some who are just in fantastic shape. There are vegan athletes of all different skin colors, and those ones are amazing. But we really have to try to shift an entire society to help us out. We need our families on board. We need our relatives on board. We need our neighbors on board. We need people to film us when we're out there. And that is one of the things that I used to love to do. And I'm so proud of you guys for going out there. Now let's talk for people who are new here. What goes on in these industries? Do you, let's say, Tash, do you want to tell us a little bit about what have you learned from watching Dominion, and what do you know about what happens in Australia and around the world with these different animals?
Yeah, so I watched Dominion when it was released. So I went to the premiere when it was premiered here in Perth, and I actually took my dad to go and see it. And yeah, I forced myself to sit through the whole documentary, and I was obviously quite educated at the time. I'd been vegan for over a year when I watched it, so I knew quite thoroughly what was going on in the industries, but it was even worse than what I had imagined after watching this documentary. Just the standard legal practices that animals are put through. And, you know, it's perfectly legal to enslave them and put them in cages and rape them, torture them, abuse them, and obviously brutally murder them. And people think that something humane happens in these murder factories, but that's just a perfect example of brainwashing, because nothing humane happens in a slaughterhouse. I've been outside plenty of slaughterhouses myself, and I have actually witnessed this cruelty firsthand inside facilities, and I've seen these animals suffering, and it's like stepping into hell and then coming back out and thinking, I want to take every single one of those beings with me. And yeah, they're just, you can't do anything about it but create awareness for them. And yeah, I've been outside the pig slaughterhouses and they're screaming for their lives. And it's just, yeah, so horrific to witness.
And then, you know, we go into a restaurant with these people that have got the bodies of these poor animals on their plate, and we're the extremists. The vegans are extreme ones when they're the ones with that in front of them, funding it, paying for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll never forget those screams. They will always haunt me. They suffocate to death in the carbon dioxide gas chambers, and they have a very severe reaction to the carbon dioxide. It's full level carbon dioxide, just about like 90%, and they literally burn from the inside out. And workers have reported they thrash so hard in the gas chambers their feet come off. It's absolutely horrific what is happening. This is a Holocaust, and we all need to be calling it out for what it is. And there's not enough of us vegans that are, you know, using this terminology to create awareness about the Holocaust. Everyone needs to know about it. You need to be using this terminology because it is so extremely effective. I'm using it more than ever before, and I'm seeing some very positive results in my protesting, like media headlines calling it a Holocaust, quoting me word for word.
Absolutely. I remember when I first started hearing the word Holocaust, I was like, damn it, that's exactly right. And when I started using it, people were like so offended, so shocked. And I remember it was back in the day when I was on Facebook and I was putting posts that people were blocking me and just saying, how dare you? You are anti-Semitic. How can you do that? And I backed off because I was just like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I had a few weeks of just being like, okay. And then I was like, I studied it more. I thought about it more. I was like, fuck that. Roll up my sleeves. I'm using the word because it is exactly the same thing. It is that. And they rape these animals. It is rape. That's what they do to the animals. If you are literally fondling a bull and you are getting their sperm and you are shoving your hand, your whole arm into a female to impregnate her, it is rape. It is kidnapping. It is a Holocaust that is going on. You're absolutely right. And your tears are absolutely normal. It makes my blood boil that we cannot get this message out to others. So I'm urging anybody who watches this video or any videos where we talk about the animals, share them. You have a share button anytime you are watching Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Share these videos of these animal defenders. It is absolutely essential that we start to show people that they were born vegan. Remind people, this is a concept that I came up with myself when I realized that this is the same thing. Black people are born black. Gay people are born gay. Lesbians are born lesbians, and vegans are born vegan. And guess what? We are all born vegan. Every one of us is vegan. We just forgot along the way. People tried to wash our skin and change our color and change who we are inside, and they tried to change it. But the fact remains, we are all born vegan. None of us, when we are born, want to kill animals or hurt them. Our parents come up to us with a spoon and they shove dead animals into our mouth, and we don't know. We did not consent to that. And when we wake up to it and we realize, oh my God, I could never kill an animal. I would never want that. I would never want to steal the milk from a baby cow. I would never want to pay for a pig to go to gas chamber. It's just horrific.
I harbor a lot of guilt for the years that I consumed animal products and the years I can never get back. Yesterday we did some protests in the city as well. They didn't turn into what Grilled had turned into, but we went into McDonald's and you've got these parents in there with their little kids getting them a Happy Meal. And just the fact that it's called a Happy Meal, like how twisted and sick is that? A Happy Meal that contains the body parts of baby animals that suffered their entire lives and then got slaughtered. That's a Happy Meal. Anyway, so parents are sitting there feeding their children this sort of stuff. And we're protesting and talking about it. And, you know, parents obviously don't really know what to do. They're sort of laughing or look really uncomfortable. But the truth of the matter is they know deep down that feeding the body parts of animals to their children, the same animals those children would adore and love and be excited about, to pat and love, they're feeding them to them. It's just the most psychotic, twisted thing I have ever woken up to. It is like leaving a cult. When you realize what you have been taught is so messed up and twisted and wrong and not based on any logic, it's like waking up to the fact that you were brought up in a cult. And it's still going on around you. There is still murder in the mainstream everywhere, celebrated. And I'm still in detox, really, from waking up to this.
I know exactly how you feel. And that's why when I read Claire Mann's book entitled Dystopia, The Anguish of Being Vegan in a Non-Vegan World, I was like, yep, that's what that is. And I think I speak for all of us. I think we all suffer from that. That is the wakening up of realizing, like, I think people have this moment when they become vegan. I think it's like, oh my God, this thing's going on. I got to tell everybody. As soon as I tell my family, oh my God, we're all going to be vegan together. And all my friends are going to be vegan. And of course, my teachers and my colleagues, everybody's going to be vegan when they find this out. And you're like, look at this dominion. Look at this. Look what we're doing. It's amazing. It's terrible. And then they're like, I just kind of feel like having some bacon. And you're just like, you're like, what? And there's this feeling that comes over you, this incredible sadness, like, I don't understand, right? You guys have people in your lives that you really wish were vegan?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, as I mentioned before, I took my dad to the Dominion premiere, and unfortunately to this day, he's still not vegan. It disgusts me. How can someone see the truth and not go vegan? I mean, obviously he's made some big steps in his life reducing, but that's not enough. You can't just reduce a little bit of murder and abuse. You need to abolish it. So yeah, it just astounds me when people witness the truth and they can't just, get rid of the murder from their lifestyle.
Old habits die hard.
Yeah. And it's hard because, you know, when we point to everybody else in the world and say, you know, you're a murderer, you're an animal abuser. I mean, we know that our own families, I mean, I do have vegans in my family, of course, but, you know, there's always other people, like my neighbors. Probably some neighbors are watching this right now, and they know that I think that they are animal abusers and murderers. And it's just too bad that we can't convince them to just join us. And do you guys have a theory as to why it is that, like, wouldn't it be interesting to try to figure out what is it that makes one person watch the documentary Dominion, totally get it, bawl their eyes out, cry, and just like wake up, and then others just, what is it?
I mean, I can speak from my own experience because I watched Cowspiracy back in 2015, and it wasn't until, and I'd seen footage of what goes on in these places, and it wasn't until years later that I finally went vegan.
Okay.
And I'm ashamed of that, but I guess that there's just this mental block. There's this, you know, it's like
me
everyone
too.
knows
Like,
the
I was
truth.
vegetarian. Sorry, I was just gonna say I was vegetarian, so I totally get it. I was vegetarian, and I saw a few things about the dairy industry, but there's like this game we play. Like, well, it's not that bad. It can't be that bad. You know, that must just be that one place, that one video. It's just and you just, right? So what do you think happened to you? What made it change then in the end? It really is 100 clicks, isn't it?
Yeah.
Stefania?
Unfortunately, for some, definitely me. What did it was, well, my family were going increasingly more vegan, and my sister declared that she's going entirely vegan, and we all saw that as an opportunity to do it with her. Because we all wanted an opportunity or a reason to do it, I think, but we were so, playing these games in our minds, going back and forwards. But we finally just stopped and we thought, you know what? Nah, let's do it because she's doing it. And it was just that final little push just to make that change. And then when you do it, it's so bloody easy. I reckon maybe it's a bit hard in the first week or two, whatever. After that, you're like, what the hell? That wasn't hard at all. And then you hate yourself more because you didn't do it sooner. It is not hard to eat vegan at all. It's very easy. And it's just the games we play mentally, just that mental block.
Yeah. All right, so let's look at a few comments here, shall we? Okay, Stefania, why don't you read this one?
If you eat fish, you also kill turtles. You cause needless pain and suffering and death to other sentient beings. Wake up, go vegan, stop the excuses and speciesism. Yes, everyone's a turtle lover. Everyone save the turtles, don't use straws. Meanwhile, they're eating fish, which is the leading killer of turtles.
Crazy.
Because obviously by catch, they get pulled up in the nets or strangled in the nets. All right, what's the next one?
What is this? Since you tell people to cut out non-vegans out of their lives, yet you still hang around your kids. I'm not sure who this person's talking about and what you mean by that, but people who are not vegan are not my friends. I will be polite to people who are not vegan because I'm just a polite person. But will I ever trust somebody who is not vegan? Not really.
Yeah, I've learned that lesson. I've just, since Tash has been here and I've gone and protested, I've had friends message me the most crazy abusive stuff, name calling stuff, just hating me. And these are friends who were they weren't vegan. And it does show me that, you know what, they can't be trusted. They can't, if they're going to turn on me like that after a long-term friendship and call me all these names and want to cut me out of my life, I don't trust you. And I should have known that from the start. And I think I'm going to be very, very careful when choosing friends in the future.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Oh, so by the way, for those of you who have donated, thank you so much. I didn't want to interrupt the conversation to thank you, but I do want to thank you so much. Even if you hate me and you want to say something, that's totally fine. I just prefer that you remain polite and that we keep the focus on the animals, because that's really why we're here. We're here to defend the animals. We're trying not to do any personal attacks. But, hey, I've been through it all. So do you see any more? Okay, here's something. A question for me. Do you think it's more oppressed, vegans or LGBTQ members? Well, how about I'll let Tash answer that one. What do you think?
I think he's missing someone. Sorry, you go. I'm cutting in.
Definitely missing someone there.
Mm-hmm.
Who could that be? Oh, the most oppressed beings on this planet. the non-human animals who are enslaved, tortured, abused, and raped and murdered. We're not here about comparisons, but, you know, they are the most oppressed beings on this planet. So we need to be fighting for them. And if you're against oppression, you should be vegan.
Nicely put.
Yeah. You see, people try to always bring this talk. They always try to get away from the animals somehow, right? They always try to attack us in some way. Like you said, when you were protesting, holding a sign, they're like, "What about your shoes?" Like, no, my shoes are not leather.
I know, leather, vegan fur, all of that exists. They really think they did something there.
Yeah. Okay, but let's say, Victoria, that I do want to answer this. Okay, I'm going to try. All right. So you're asking me honestly, who is more oppressed? Well, of course, the animals are the most oppressed. But do I think that? See, now that they're trying to trap me. See, what people do is they'll take what I say, and they'll take like that 3-second clip, and they will take it out of context, and they will write, you know, that vegan teacher, homophobic, racist. That's what they do. Right?
Also, because you're not a woke 20-year-old and you don't use the same language they do, they can trap you far more easily. It's like no respect for different generations or anything. You have to speak like them in the way they want you to speak and do what they want you to do, and then it's fine. But yeah, it's like, all right, let's hear this.
All right, so
let's hear what's going to be taken out of context.
Yeah, I'll answer it. I'll try to answer it. Okay. So, who do I think is more oppressed? So, vegans. So, what do I think is worse? Veganphobia or like that affects people more, or the LGBTQ? Well, it depends. It really depends. I think that, of course, I'm going to acknowledge that when you come out of the closet in certain countries or in certain places around the world, certain religions, it's not always easy. Absolutely. Do people who come out of the closet as vegans or as LGBTQ, any of these minorities, feel nervous? Do they get kicked out of the house sometimes? Yes. Do they have crazy religious fanatic parents or families who they know that they can't tell the truth to? Yes. But let's look in general. Okay, in general, if you look at, let's say, all of the United States, I don't know about Australia. I imagine you're the same as Canada. We're kind of all, everyone's connected through social media and everything. England. If you are a member of the LGBTQ, you can fly a flag in general. You can tell people, hey, I'm gay. And people are like, okay, whatever. I don't really care what you do with your penis or your vagina. Why are you telling me? Whatever. Right? Like, it's just, but if you come out as a member of the vegans, as a vegan, as a member of somebody who wants to defend the animals, I have yet to see anybody who ever say, oh my God, that's amazing. We're so proud of you. Come here, give me a hug, right? Your vegans will do that. But family, has anyone ever come out of the closet as a vegan and had their family say, I am so proud of you. Oh my God, let's be vegan as a family. This is great. Let's go shopping together and put veggies, fruits, nuts, and seeds in our shopping cart because peace begins on our plate. Let's open up our heart. Do they do that? No. I don't know if that answers your question or not, Victoria. But you try. Because I'm bisexual, and I've said that to people. People are like, oh, she's just faking it. She's just saying that because she wants to pretend that she's one of us. They're like, next she's going to put black paint on her and say, I'm black because I'm going to speak on. It's so full of shit. I like, and then people are like, prove to us that you're bisexual. Prove it. Like, I don't have to fucking prove
it. Not an OnlyFans.
I don't have to prove a damn thing to you. And they're like, well, isn't she married? I'm like, you never heard about monogamy, did you? Like people think that bisexuals are just like, sleeping around every day. Like there is such a thing as monogamy. How do I know I'm bisexual? I was just born that way. I just know. And I've said it to people before. When I was in kindergarten, I had a crush on a girl named Natalie. And then, what else do I remember? Like in grade 4, I had a crush on Pierre, who was holding a frog. I had crushes going, just like everyone else. For me, it was all about the person. It was never about like the body parts. It was always just about the connection. Like, what kind of eyes do they have? What kind of heart do they have? What is their spirit like? So to me, I actually don't even understand straight people at all. I don't get it. To me, it's almost like a kind of racism. It's like, how can you not be attracted to somebody
in both sexes, all genders?
Sorry?
How can you not see the beauty in all genders? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were actually discussing this the other night, and I said I think that everyone's got a little bit of something in them. I mean, I'm bisexual, but so I was asking her the other night. You know, we were having this discussion on sexuality and orientation, but I think people, it's a little. We're definitely taught that monogamy and being straight is the status quo, like this is how you should be when we grow up in society. And it's not true. If they didn't enforce that idea, people would probably be far more open to finding different genders and different people attractive.
Yeah. So how did we get off subject?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I know how. Because I was saying, because people on TikTok, when I was on TikTok, they're like, as a member of the LGBTQ community, we don't want her here. You know, like we and I was like, hey, hold on a second. Because I had my song, right? LGBTQ, we support you. But if you don't like oppression, why the fuck aren't you vegan yet? You know, that was my little song. And I thought everyone was going to be like, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's be vegan.
It's logical. Yeah, it's very fucking logical.
They were like holding up their flags and saying, we don't want you. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna admit that I'm part of them. That'll change. And no, it didn't make a difference. That's how strong veganphobia is. And that's why
something else.
Yeah. Veganphobia is I think it's worse. I do, but we're not comparing here because what really matters is the animals. And so do you guys want to talk a little bit more about, like, how did you end up together in the same room? Like, you guys are from different, I don't know Australia that well. How far apart do you live in real life to each other?
Opposite sides of Australia. Yeah. Oh. So my dad, who's a vegan boomer, I love it. He actually over a year ago sent me a video of Tash protesting in Coles. And he was quite inspired by it and wanted to share it with me. He said, you know, check out this amazing girl with the activism she's doing for the animals. And I looked her up and I was indeed very impressed. And so I promptly started following Tash and was an avid supporter and fan of what she was doing for the animals, that I always dreamt that one day that she'd be able to bring me out of my shell so that I could speak up and find my voice too. And yeah, so we've sort of been trying to meet up now for over probably about a year. And because of COVID, it's just been put off or postponed, but finally we're together.
It's so cute.
And Steph is doing so well. She's already done what we've done, like several disruptions, and I've been here for less than a week now. Yeah, so we've already done several disruptions and she hasn't done anything like this before. And she's a natural at speaking out and disrupting, and it's absolutely amazing.
So great. Like I said, I wish that I was there with you guys. I would just film you. Like I would just love it. I would be like the official filmer. Because I love filming. I just kind of go down and up and around and run around. And it's the best thing to capture animal rights activists. It's so important to share the messages. Do you want to read this, Tash?
Sure. Okay. So it says, did you know there are vegan versions of everything? And they taste similar, if not better. But even if they don't taste better, their lives are more important than your selfish taste pleasure.
Amen.
Exactly true. I actually did a radio interview just a few days ago, and the interviewer was trying to catch me on, I don't know, he was asking me questions. So, do you eat vegetables? And I started talking about all the amazing whole foods that I eat. I don't even need to eat processed foods or the vegan alternatives, because there are so many amazing whole plant-based foods that you can eat. But then I started talking about all the amazing vegan alternatives there are to meat, dairy, and eggs. And yeah, he just started trying to cut me off, because I made him realize that you can thrive and survive and eat a variety of foods without murdering somebody else.
Yeah, actually more of a variety since going vegan.
Yeah.
Because you discover all these new amazing foods and things you can cook with. And I think I'm a lot healthier, although I do eat a fair bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it's true. You start opening up your whole palate to all these different foods that you never tried before. Like, honestly, I don't even know if I ever tried bok choy before I became vegan. I don't remember ever eating it. Like certain foods and certain fruits that you're just like in the supermarket, you're like, looking deeper, like, what's this thing? I've never seen this before. You're looking at the label and you just buy all new things that you start realizing that, hey, there's a lot of cool stuff out there. Yeah. All right. So you guys came together, and how long are you together for right now?
a couple more weeks.
Yeah, just over 2 more weeks. I'm hanging around here in Melbourne. Yeah, we've got a lot planned, a lot more disruptions to do. Obviously, last night shook us up, but it's only fueled our fire to continue fighting even harder for the animals. But yeah, I think it's perfect timing for me because a few days before I left to come here, I actually received a ban for all liquor licensed venues in Western Australia. So that really limited my protesting options, and it was just perfect that I was able to come into another state and continue protesting in these venues. But yeah, it's just an example of how the law is used to silence activists. I mean, it's completely irrelevant to what I was doing, and they're trying to get me for being disorderly and drunk when I wasn't to silence me.
Terrible what they do. Yeah.
Absolute misjustice and misuse of the law to do that.
Yeah. And to try to tarnish you and pretend that you're something that you're not. It's awful. And for me on TikTok, they had so many different videos of people that look like me doing crazy things. Like one woman was like in a restaurant having a breakdown and smearing shit all over the walls or something. And millions of people thought that was me.
The lies. They're gonna
and then somebody's
I'm scared.
Then what else did they do? They had the typical one, somebody that looked like me was eating a burger. And so everyone said that I wasn't even really vegan, that I was eating burgers on the side, that I was not truthful. Somebody else said that I ran over someone with a car and that I killed someone. Like, so I just think about my neighbors who have read or seen all these little snippets of things. They don't know the truth. And like, there's only me. There's only one me. And because I'm not even on TikTok, I don't even get to speak out and say what actually the truth is. And that's why I leave my comment section open, closed a lot, because it's not that I'm afraid of people attacking me. It's they literally spread lies. Today in the comment section, someone said, tofu contains milk, right? And about 100 people pressed like on that comment.
Oh God, I know. Yeah.
So 12-year-olds who read the comment section are like, yeah, like what? She's so fake. Like oh my God, she eats tofu and has milk in it. Like, so they go and spread these lies. And because I'm just one person and there's thousands of comments, I can't be in there always. Well, actually, tofu doesn't have milk, just so you know. Like, so what do you do, right? So sometimes I just shut the whole thing down because I'm just like, I just can't take it because I'm just in there trying to fix all these lies. And
a lot of misinformation being spread. I just posted a video yesterday to my Instagram account. It has got probably about 3,000 comments now. A lot of people losing their minds on it. But just the misinformation in the comment section that people are spreading in the guise of good as well, which is what's particularly insidious, is that they're leaving these comments talking as if they're knowledgeable on the topic and they're just looking out for these vulnerable communities, when in reality they're weaponizing these groups, these vulnerable groups, to further their agenda and to protect their own daily habits that they participate in. And it's
Can you give me an example? Can you give me an example of what you mean?
Oh,
or just like you don't have to necessarily find it, but just tell me, like, what do you mean in general? Thank you for the donation, by the way. I don't know what your name is. It's some sort of a Chinese writing or something. Thank you. And vegan for the animals.
Yeah, well, they'll just bring up saying, it's not everyone can go vegan, and how can you? It's racist and classist, and your white privilege is showing. Just all the woke words get pulled out.
Oh yeah, this white privilege thing. It's wait, that was another thing. When I was on TikTok and people started talking about white privilege, well, I started hearing about it, I guess about a year ago or whatever. And it was this Black woman, she was on there and she was just like, you know, oh, I hate that vegan teacher. I'll never talk to her. I've never know all this. I was like, wait, what? Like, I don't even know who you are. And she's vegan. She's apparently she's vegan. Okay. And Zephoria or something like that. Zephoria the vegan or something. And I was like, that's so strange. Like, I have nothing against people with dark skin, and I've never met you in my life. And yet she hates me because I'm white. And I was like, that's racism. That's actually the definition of racism. Like, you haven't met me. I've done nothing wrong to you ever. And so I thought, but how can you do that, right? How can you go ahead?
Yeah, they're categorizing you based on your skin color. Yeah.
And I can't call racism because the woke people will freak out and be like, oh my God. And so I don't know. I was just in shock. I actually ended up watching a few of her lives to try to understand her psyche. I thought there must be something else. I must have done something, or she must have heard a rumor about me that's not true. Because how could she hate me when she doesn't know me and we're both vegan? It didn't make sense. So yeah, it's this whole white veganism. I guess she didn't like the fact that I was calling out the LGBTQ or saying that everyone should be vegan. One other example that happened was there was this guy who was, one guy was in a wheelchair once. And I said, you know, hey, you should be vegan. And I was massively attacked, told I was ableist. And what the reality was is that in fact, they were ableist because I was seeing this person as a normal person who can choose to be vegan. I was acknowledging that their mind and their heart are intact. So what if you have a leg that doesn't work, whatever, that the wheelchair is irrelevant. Everyone can strive to be vegan. And that they didn't realize that they were in fact the ones being ableist because they were making this person into a child. Like they're too fragile in the wheelchair to decide to be vegan.
Yeah. Diminishing them as a human.
Yeah.
You know, incapable of anything and any moral obligation. It is completely ableist. What I've noticed a lot when it comes to vegan activism is all the things these people are calling vegan activists, it's a complete projection. It's almost like they're talking to themselves. I mean, they should just read it to themselves in the mirror, everything they write to us, because it's exactly what they are. They're being racist, they're being ableist, they're being everything they try and label us as by weaponizing those people.
Right. Tash, you have a vegan dog. You have a dog that you feed vegan food to. Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yep. He's been eating plant-based for probably a couple of years now.
But of course, he must be, you know, he must be half dead, right?
Yeah, probably.
Protein deficiency.
Do you know that 50,000 people signed a petition to try to take my dog away from me?
They should really be going reading about veganism instead of doing that.
This is to your point, Stefania, right? It's a total projection. They're literally eating dead animals and typing at the same time, vegan teacher abuses her animals. And they're like cutting their steak. And they're just like, get her. Go, everybody, let's go get her. And they're like, they dox my address. I don't know how many times. There's literally right now on TikTok an account that just has my address everywhere. And people are like, we're going to go to her house. We're going to throw meat, eggs at her house. Let's go there and rescue her dog. Let's go. I'm just like, we have cameras now all over the place to protect ourselves. I mean, can you imagine if somebody actually showed up at our house and tried to take Bella? What a scene that would be. She would kill them. Right? I mean, that's the irony. They're trying to save her. She would bite them. She's not gonna let anyone on the property. She's not gonna let herself be taken away. No way. It's ridiculous. And so yeah, our dogs can be perfectly healthy eating vegan food. And I started talking about that a lot too, how important it is to give that message, because if we can teach people that their dogs can be vegan, it's gonna, like, even at first I had Bella, barely showed her, and I was just like, you know, that's a secondary thing. And then I started realizing, no, that should be kind of a big focus, because if people realize that our pets can be vegan, then it's like, okay, clearly her with her giant jaw and her actual, you know, incisors, actual like fangs, if she can be perfectly healthy, so can we.
What's even more mind-blowing and makes these people just is when they hear that cats can be vegan too. That there's nutritionally sufficient and good, healthy cat food that meets all their requirements that is vegan. And then when they hear this, it's their mind is just, you can't comprehend it. It's like, no, they can't. How can you do that? It's like, if you think if we can put man on the moon, you don't think we can make vegan cat food, mate? It's like, come on.
Yeah, it's amazing. And yeah, I mean, but I honestly, I was a bit of a victim of that propaganda at first. When I was first vegan, I kept hearing obligate carnivore, obligate carnivore. I remember saying it. I remember saying, well, cats, dogs can be vegan, but cats are obligate carnivore. I think that actually came out of my mouth like 5 years ago. Oh, by the way, tomorrow is my 5-year anniversary being vegan.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
27th. Oh, wait, is it the 27th over there?
Oh my God, it is.
Yes.
Yay.
Happy Vegan Declaration Day to you. Happy Vegan Declaration Day to me. Yeah, I'm vegan. 5 years. My God.
Awesome.
And what's so great is that, you should, people, by the way, if you're watching and you're not yet vegan and you're really seriously considering it, write the date down, because it does creep up on you. And one day you're just like, hey, you know what? I think I've been vegan for a while. I think I'm actually vegan, and you don't really remember the date. I mean, so it's good to keep note and watch it's so fun to watch you go back to your old Facebook posts too and see, oh my God, I did that. I said that. Oh my God. I took a picture of myself. Like I used to eat every day. I would have these, I don't know if you guys have them there in Australia, but Triscuit crackers. Triscuits, they're like little square wheat crackers. Put a thing of cheese on there. And I used to put a half of what is it? Raisin, grape, half a grape on top. So, like with a wine sort of flavor, wine and cheese, grape, and put it in the microwave. Anyway, I used to have that as treat all the time. Treat. It was the main thing that I ate. I mean, me giving up cheese like everybody else. It was like, oh my God, I never get to eat that again. But then you think about the animals. It's easy if you think about the animals.
And it also ends up becoming extremely gross after a while when you look at it. And the smell, I know when I was accidentally given cow's breast milk in a coffee last year, and I took a sip of it and I thought, oh my God, this soy milk's off and like gone moldy. It tasted so bad. But it shows you that we're just addicted to a degree to these things, and they're habitual, but they're bloody disgusting.
Yeah. You want to read this, Tash?
Sure. It says, and for those that live with your parents, show them the documentaries. They will have a new view on the cruel animal industries. The screams, the bloodshed, the graphic content. Let them see it. Yeah, we need to be sharing this footage with everyone we know and going out and disrupting to gain that media attention and telling everybody to watch Dominion. Some of my videos have been, like, for example, a video on TikTok of me doing a disruption received about 15 million views. And I made sure I put in the caption, Watch Dominion on YouTube. I was holding a sign with watchdominion.com. And that led to hundreds and thousands of people going to watch Dominion. So disrupting is the most powerful way of sharing this footage.
Yeah, I just noticed, just from me posting some of our protests, the amount of comments and debates going on is phenomenal. I've never seen anything like it on my social media. So when people say this form of protesting doesn't work, it's like, look in the comment section and everyone's talking about this topic. Thousands of people are. But yeah, the top comment on the Dominion on YouTube is, I was brought here from that girl in McDonald's sort of thing, with like over 10,000 likes on it. And she's obviously managing to get the word out to millions and millions. It's incredible.
Yeah. It's I'm constantly talking about that. And to be honest with you, I didn't actually watch all of Dominion. I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So I had already seen Earthlings, which is similar. And I'd been already vegan for several years. I'd seen so many hundreds of hours of footage. Like, I just can't. I just literally start crying. Like, I just go into a ball. Like, I just lose my mind. I can't. So I had actually some people watch it for me and tell me the facts, just like tell me in case I didn't know any facts. What did you learn, Tash, from that you didn't know before? Something that really stood out when you said it was even more horrible than you thought?
Well, yeah, as I said, I was already aware of like the standard legal practices, such as, you know, dairy cows being raped, having their children taken away from them, the male calves are murdered in the dairy industry, and the fact that the male chicks in the egg industries are macerated alive. So I was already aware of it, and I had seen some footage, but I think actually just witnessing it and seeing, you know, these babies being murdered, particularly just witnessing the bobby calves being murdered, is something that really shook me. So even if you have all this knowledge about the industries, that's obviously great. That's a great way to spread the truth and awareness. I think actually just watching it is what will really shock you. Like, you already know in your mind, but when you see that footage, it's really shocking, and it's such a powerful thing, because I know that definitely helped me with my education and my activism, just witnessing it myself. You know, it really fueled that fire, seeing the death and the murder, you know, happening to these poor innocent babies. So it was just witnessing it.
I think one of the hardest things about being on TikTok for the 11 months that I was there was this inability to show any kind of footage. I was immediately tagged, and you know, the community guidelines went up. There are a few activists there on TikTok still who are somehow managing to get away with having this footage, the same exact videos that I tried to put, and they were taken down when they were by me. And I think it's because I was going for the jugular. I was going for the guilt. I was making every minority feel guilty. But some of these accounts, they just post it, and they're very neutral. They're not like, you should be vegan. They're just like, here's what happens. Here's the industry. And people are just like, so it's great. We should all be supporting these other accounts, because the important thing is just to get it out there, to be able to show what happens, right? And you know what's sad is that on YouTube, you don't get monetized if you show too much violence. But if you promote McDonald's, or you promote any kind of meat, dairy, or egg, so it's crazy. It's like people like the whole system is set up in such a way that the meat, dairy, and egg industries, they win. And people who promote them, it is so despicable. How many people don't have a conscience? I don't understand how they can sleep at night and just promote these things. There's so many YouTubers who did so many horrible videos, you know, against my activism, who just, you know, vegan phobic. Yeah, so just to acknowledge Vegan Noah, who is somebody, Vegan Noah. Noah's a teenager who follows me, and he's texted me a few times, and I had somebody's been trying to attack my Instagram, and just many people pretending to be me, taking all of my videos and saying that they're the real me, and I'm not verified yet. So people are using my image, my actual image, my videos, and saying, see, I really am her. And I mean, it's just so crazy. So many people. Anyway, so at one point, there was another Vegan Noah. So I didn't know who was who. So I feel really bad, because I feel like, you know, I'm chatting with somebody and I'm just like, are you that one or that one? And like, what, you know, so many messages on my iPad. I can't even keep track of the amount of people that are trying to contact me, and there's spam. And I feel so bad, because there's some actual really nice teenagers who are like, you know, trying to say, hey, thanks. And, you know, this, I have a little question. And I'm just like, especially after that situation with Tommy Innit, where I was communicating to this kid in college, who I thought was in college and was like, you know, 18. And I you know, told him to eat his fruits and vegetables, and people were like freaking out that I was talking to this person who turned out, I think he was 16 or 17, and I just like made a big deal out of it, and just were so rude and mean. So now it's like I feel like I can't even talk to any teenagers because you just can't trust anybody. It's so sad. Yeah. All right, so I guess we're going to wrap it up pretty soon. We've been talking for an hour and 8 minutes, but do you guys want to just, yeah, so this is just a site here. howdoigovegan.com. It's great. Thank you. Watch Dominion documentary, Cody. This is such a great account. I mean, look at the title there. If you want to be an animal rights activist, this is like a perfect thing to write. You write the name of the documentary, and then you write your name at the end. Everybody knows exactly what you stand for. We vegans can identify that person, like that person knows the documentary, and by the way, their name is Cody. So it's a way to kind of feel, you know, close to the activists. I encourage you all to have something like that as your name when you're here. Don't you guys agree?
Yes, I
Definitely.
think it's good job, Cody.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to point out that I think is really important, I wanted to say earlier about Grilled, which is the restaurant chain that we went and disrupted, is that they are particularly insidious and twisted because what they do is they ease people's conscience so much to purchase these products. So they will use labels like RSPCA approved chicken. I don't know how any body parts of an animal can be approved as in any way good for the animal when it's been chopped up into pieces. But so what I noticed is they've got these charity boxes. So every time you purchase a murder burger, you get a little coin that you can put into a charity box of choice to make you feel better about having just paid for animal abuse and slaughter. So they've got all these tricks. Yeah, they've got all these tricks in this fast food chain to make people feel better about eating there and to make them forget about what it is they are paying for. I think that's just particularly sick.
It's absolutely evil, and it's so mind-boggling that we, like, you couldn't make this up. If you were like an alien coming, like, I can't even believe it exists. Like, if you were like, let's write a story that's so twisted. If you were writing this and it was like, people would be like, no, that can't actually happen. Like, it's so bizarre.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I can't believe. That's why when you wake up out of the cult, it is so shocking at what is going on. It is like you are living in a horror story, a dystopian horror story.
Yeah.
And even the propaganda and imagery they have, like that image that we saw, what did it say? Peaceful cows make good burgers,
yummy burgers or something.
Delicious burgers or something like that, with the image of a cow and his body has a hole in it and there are doves flying out of his body. Like just all this unusual propaganda imagery to try and manipulate the murder and turn it into a peaceful looking thing. It's crazy.
I can imagine future generations of school kids studying the propaganda that was used in support of animal agriculture, just like we study in school today the propaganda that was used during World War II. And I'm glad that I listened in history class because it is literally exactly the same thing. The propaganda is there to distract us, help make us accept what's going on, make us feel better about it, and make us continue to consume and endorse these industries.
Yeah. Terrible. Do you want to add anything else, or do you have any other plans for vegan activism while you guys are together that you want to tell us about? Or I mean, the only thing I want to say to the audience is if anybody is living near where these ladies are, please volunteer to be their bodyguards, volunteer to film, and not just them, but any animal defenders. Even if you're not vegan, just put your hand up and say, I'll be their bodyguard. And then eventually you'll be vegan. Because if you hang out with these two I got to point the other way.
No, you were pointing,
I'm trying to point to you. Like
the other way.
Other way, yeah. Okay, there.
Yeah,
these
perfect.
two. I mean, pointing. It's the opposite. Okay. If you're hanging out with these two, you are going to end up being vegan. So I call on anybody who is big and strong to be their bodyguards. And I don't just mean now, I mean all the time. All animal defenders need bodyguards. So you raise your hand, you say, I'll be your bodyguard, and you just follow along, film them, put your hands out like this if people are trying to go near them, push people away. Yeah. I mean, Tash, when I saw what happened to you where you were holding the pig's head and that woman jumped over the counter, like she's some big hero. It was just awful.
Yeah, and you can see in the footage there's a moment where she puts her hand over her knife and it looks like she has a secondary moment where she wants to grab the knife and pull it out on me, but she doesn't. But you can see that that's what's going on in her mind. That's how aggressive and violent she was. And then obviously she grabbed the pig's head from me and use that as a way to pull me out of the whole shopping center. It was just like an unusual movie scene. Like, I watched that video still to this day thinking, I can't believe that actually happened. I mean, it's these confrontations that are actually quite good to spread the message. Obviously, because that happened, that gained a lot of media attention. So I'm willing to take a push and a shove if that means that the animal rights message is going to get out there. Because it really does help. It makes a good media story, as insane as it is.
Don't you hate it when people accuse you of just wanting fame, or what is the word, clout? When it's just like, no, I'm just here giving the message, but really I just want you to look over here. This is the animals right here. And there's like, no, we're just going to point at you and blame you. It's the messenger.
If we wanted clout, we would be protesting something else that people all agree with. That everyone's like, oh, fantastic, go you guys. Yeah, we wouldn't be protesting this.
Yeah, I mean, if someone wants fame and attention, why would they be willing to risk literally their freedom and their lives, and to put themselves in situations where someone could punch them out and beat them? Because that's what we're doing. You know, we're making people feel so triggered that they're happy to throw a punch at us. You know, we're risking everything to bring attention to the most oppressed beings on this planet. So it's crazy, and it's so saddening that this is also coming from a lot of people in the vegan community. I see on these vegan groups of all these vegans saying Tash Peterson is just ruining the movement. Look at her just trying to get fame and attention. Meanwhile, I'm sitting here fearing my life because people are coming to my house saying that they're going to rape and murder me. And they're not willing to do anything for the animals. Like, they call themselves vegan and they just bring activists down. We need you here with us, fighting for the animals instead of trying to bring activists down. It's just crazy. Like, can't even get a group of people together to do activism. We tried the other day and it just ended up being us two. Like, where are you? The animals need you.
Yeah, these vegans that don't want us speaking out like this and don't want Tash doing the sort of protesting she's doing is because they want to maintain whatever clout and reputation they have. They're concerned about themselves, and they don't want any negativity or any bad light brought to them as a vegan because of people speaking out like this and triggering non-vegans. So really, if anyone's wanting attention and clout and protecting their reputation, it is them. I just posting recent protests, I've lost tens of thousands of followers across my socials from posting this sort of stuff. So like I said, if I wanted clout from doing this, I would not be protesting this. I'd be doing something performative.
And Tash, I wish I was there to give you a huge hug. I have so, thank you, Stefania. Oh God, both of you. I can totally relate. You know, when I sang that little song outside of McDonald's with my little ukulele, before that I was doing other little things, and I too tried to get some vegans together. And you know, for a while we had a little group of us. There were about 5 of us here in Montreal, and we were singing little songs that I wrote where you can replace one product with another and just sing the whole thing. And it was okay, but you know, it's really hard to find vegans. It's hard to find vegan animal rights activists, and it's hard to find those who can sing. You can maybe find some who want to sing, but they really can't sing very well. So, you know, it's really a small niche. And then I said, you know, hey, I'm going to go and sing outside McDonald's. I have this 15-second song I want to do. Who wants to come? Like, come on, we'll be a big gang of us, and, you know, we'll get a lot of media attention. And like, everyone's like, no, that just sounds weird. Like, I don't want to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that video that I did, I don't know how many millions. I stopped watching. I think it was 26 million views that video had. And I didn't want to be the center of it. I wanted to film a group of people singing it. But, you know, life has a way of throwing little turns. And, you know, it's like what, how does it go, the saying? Like, somebody, when you say, oh, somebody should do something about this. And then one day you look in the mirror and you go, okay, wait, I am somebody. I guess,
yeah,
you know, and I'm not even that great of a singer. And it's just like, but whatever, I'm just doing it. You know, I got my husband to film me. I said, I'm just here, just film me. Hold the camera here and hold the McDonald's, you know. And he's like, okay, he's such a good sport. He just goes along with whatever, But
and what an impact you made. I'm a swimming instructor, and you have children on the other side of the world singing your songs. It's fucking amazing. In my swimming classes, they were all singing your songs. It was unreal.
That's
You're
so cute.
reaching the younger generations. It's just amazing.
Yeah. When I have days when I do cry and I think, oh, it's so sad that I'm not on TikTok anymore, because that was really my real love. I loved those quick videos. I loved being able to use my songs and to use it. And it's one thing also, I never got any warning. I know a lot of people got kicked off and then they got put back on. And we recently did write TikTok. It was like a 6-page letter explaining all of the veganphobia that had happened there and saying, look, I should have my account back. But it is what it is. And I'm not going to, sit around. So I just keep going. Just, okay, well, that door's closed. Let's find this one open. And one thing I have realized in life, ladies, I mean, you guys are half my age, but and you probably already know this, but the truth is really, like, whenever anything bad happens, there's always something good. Like, every single time. You might not see it the next day, and you might not see it even a month later, but one day you'll realize, like, hey, you know what? It's good I got kicked off of TikTok, because look, like, for example, just this conversation, right? Like, I'm so honored to be in your presence. You guys are just so great. And you guys are just like, fueling me, because like everyone, we all have moments where we just think, it feels lonely. And then you just, okay, well, I feel like, okay, nobody gets me. Okay, I'm going to go across to Australia. Oh, these people get me. So there's always something good that happens. You just might not see it right away.
Yeah, and I love your YouTube and the time you've put into your YouTube and the lengthy videos you're making, because in the lead up to me becoming an activist with Tash, I was watching your videos quite religiously, I'd say, and really enjoyed them, and they found them very informative. And because they were longer, I could put them on while I was doing housework or chores and just listen to you talking about the topics and educating me as well more and more. So I love that aspect now that you're on YouTube for my own selfish reasons, but I think also it's fabulous for everybody to listen to these longer videos. I think you're really good at them.
Oh, well, thanks. I'm trying to wing it, and I'm just doing whatever. Like,
you're doing a fantastic job.
I'm just trying to put out content, and I don't really know what I'm doing. So yesterday, for example, I just take the camera outside and I'm just walking and just talking, just like, I have this thing I want to say. But, I don't edit my stuff. So sometimes some word will just plop out of my mouth. I'm like, oh, I didn't really want to say that. Well, people will understand what I mean.
No, they take it out of context.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they do. It's too bad. What can you do? You got one life, and I'm 56. I'm going to be 57 in the fall. Like, people die. Like, it's weird. Like, I feel like I'm your age. Like, I feel like I'm just like in my 20s, but it's like, oh my God, like, time is ticking. Like, I don't have time to question everything that I do and just second guess. And just like, that's why it's so happy, Stefania, that you started doing activism. Like, it's so great. But like, honestly, I feel a bit like I want to protect you, because I'm just like, oh, I hope she's going to be okay. Because like, Tash, look, Tash has been through so much shit. I'm so happy because I know you're there to help her, and you guys are going to help each other. And it's just so great. And, of course, I'm always here. If you ever want to talk, if you ever want to send me anything, if you ever want anything at all, like, acknowledge, I don't have that big of a following, but if you just, you just type me, just say, can you please cover this story? I'm there for you guys. Okay. So you know it. Like, if you want me to, like, I was looking at what happened to you guys yesterday in the restaurant. If there's anything that I can do, if you put a video out there and you just want me to talk about it, or like, anything for you girls.
Thank you.
Right back at you.
Yeah.
Big hug. So on that note, I'm going to let you guys go, and, let's keep in touch. Anytime you want to chat again, if you want to give me another update, like I'm okay to do this next weekend if there's anything that happened or whatever, if you want me to.
Yeah, maybe we should aim to do the same time next Sunday.
Yeah, I'm totally, and, even if you don't get attacked this week, we can still talk.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more to delve into on what happened this week too, that we could talk about for hours on end. So we won't be short on conversation.
Definitely. As you go through time, and even and honestly, even spontaneously, if you just say, just text me, say like, can we go on in an hour? I'm pretty spontaneous. If I can't do it, I'll say no, of course. But don't hesitate to ask. Okay. Because you guys are together for a short time, and it's let's make use of it, and let's get to know each other, and let me help in whatever way that I can. So thanks again, and we will see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Go vegan.
Go vegan, everyone.